Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. With me, as always, my lovely co-host, Mark Goldhart. Mark Goldhart, how are you?
I'm great.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
I didn't say it's his birthday today, guys.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Yeah.
Happy
didn't bring
birthday.
cupcakes.
I know.
The big 35.
We got him a drink.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
We brought
I'm
him
in
a
my
drink.
late 30s now.
Yeah, you are in your late 30s.
Mid-30s.
Mid-30s, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, mid.
I'm 36 and I still
that
think
is mid.
I'm still mid. I think
Is late
Mid,
37.
I think once you get past 37,
You got a starter kit in late 30s.
Do
I
you?
just,
You
I
think so?
I just go 35 and under is early, and 35 and older is late.
you don't want a mid. You don't want any mid. All I
Maybe
know is
mid.
35 was the
I
hardest.
think mid is just cope. You're
30
just coping to hold
I
on
think
to
mid
it.
is where you really start planning your midlife crisis.
Yes.
Like, 35.
There you go.
What car am I going to waste money on?
Because technically that is your midlife, right? Like
Yeah.
35 to 40. Like that's
In the
70.
averages. Yeah,
That
70
means
to
70.
85, 80. Yeah.
Yeah.
35, the age 35 was like the year that my, like, if I didn't get enough sleep, I like really felt it. It like working out and exercising did not, the same hours I put into working out and exercising did not equal the same hours
yeah.
like 2 years previous. Just like
Let
everything
me
got
be a
harder.
cautionary tale to you. If you don't keep working out, it's not about getting fit anymore. It's about maintaining, and it's hard.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, maintain, like I was
Just to maintain.
I would notice that, like, you know, I was working out at a time to maintain my current fitness level, yet I was getting bigger. And I was like, what the freak? I'm not changing anything. My diet wasn't changing. In fact, my diet was probably better.
Really?
But my fitness routine stayed roughly the same. And all of a sudden, things started happening in my body I wasn't used to.
I am lucky so far.
Starting
just
about noon today,
I've been
your
the same-
metabolism will start slowing.
Yeah, about noon
Yeah.
today. That's when the
Yeah, you
timer
just
goes
wait.
off.
Yeah.
I will.
You
I'll
bet.
wait.
Midday,
I was fine too at
35,
34.
midlife.
I'll
I
watch.
was fine too at 34.
I'll watch it and see what happens.
Yeah. Just
He's
see what
gonna be
happens over
like,
the next
"Hey,
3 months.
Trevor, I got to go take a nap.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Midday naps.
I love naps.
Yeah.
If I could market a product, any product in the world, naps.
Naps would be your
Just
thing.
take a midday nap in your car.
15 minutes, change your life.
Teslas need to come out with an update where you have ambient noise, white noise machine, like it's a
A
nap.
little waterfall in the dash.
Yeah, a little
Yeah, that'd be
waterfall.
That would be really nice.
Pull up.
Yeah.
That'd
I
be
could
great.
dig that.
But yes, thank you. Very excited for my late 30s to begin. And
Yeah. We recorded a podcast on my birthday, and now we're recording one on yours.
Happy
we are.
birthday. I
Yeah.
hope you like getting fat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's.
Welcome.
we'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Give it 3 to 6 months. We'll see.
I've been
Let me
pretty
know.
much the same weight since high school.
We'll see.
So this will be the year we find out.
Here we go. Well, let's introduce our guest. He's just chimed in. He's been talking. Everyone's like,
Who is this guy?
could it be? Except for they will see in the title who it is, and so it actually
That's
won't
true.
be.
It's not very much of a surprise
Yeah,
anymore. But
So, well, anyway, well, let's welcome Damian Dayton, who is the Chief Creative Officer,
Yes, Chief Creative Officer at Creatibly.
CCO at Creatively. Welcome.
Yeah.
Also co-founder in some other e-commerce businesses like Pillow Cube, Stair
Yeah.
Slide,
Stair
and,
Slide, Boulder Play, and Cold Case Ice.
Cold Case, yeah, ice
Cold
cream.
Case
Yeah.
Ice Cream. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I've
we're
been
excited to
just
have you.
wanting to be on this podcast. 'cause-
Oh, everyone wants it. You know?
yeah. I mean, there's a line outside the door.
Yeah, we give everybody free lollipops. You know,
Yeah.
we
You made me pay for this.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
They get free ones?
$250.
Yeah, it's like
$250,
Disneyland.
yeah.
Well, we give you a
Venmo.
50% discount.
I'll Venmo
you know.
request you.
Okay,
I'll
thanks.
Venmo request you.
That's nice.
Well, dude, yeah, we've been wanting to have you on. I know you and I have connected. We've gone to lunch. We've worked a little bit together.
And I'm
really-
a huge fan of Bestie,
Thank
the
you.
app.
Thank you.
It makes our job so much better. It
Yeah.
makes us better at our jobs.
You know what I tell people all the time? What's funny is like most people will use a Bestie or any other post-purchase survey provider that's like, I need attribution. And attribution's awesome. It is for sure. When
yeah,
you
but
know,
they're missing the boat if they're just looking at attribution.
but I love it personally. Like I use it for the brands we work with. 80% of the stuff that I'm looking at on a consistent basis is to help drive creative decisions.
Nothing in
And
the
messaging.
attribution cycle tells you what your customers are thinking.
Tells you the why, right?
Yeah.
Can
You can
the
ask a
what.
simple question, why did you want this? Nothing can tell you that in that, like, well, they touched this last. Knowing what they touched last does not tell you how did they make the decision? How were they
Yeah.
thinking? What was the problem they were facing? And so many people come to us like, well, we've been running this back pain message and 60% of our consumers respond with this helped their back pain. Like, well, but that's what you told them. So that data is going to be
Skewed.
It's always going to be
Yeah.
skewed towards what
Yeah.
your marketing message has been.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Not what it could be or
Yeah.
should be.
yeah. So take a commercial to everybody and then survey them and say, why were you interested?
Yeah. What made you buy this product?
Yeah. What made you curious about this project? Product is a different question, but still valid,
Totally.
because sometimes the big thing that it does isn't the thing that gets you started on that journey.
And another question that you can also do is like, what almost stopped you, like from
Yeah.
actually taking?
Why did you
action on
wait so
this?
long?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And really quick, I think just so the audience knows why Damian's an expert in
Yes.
in thinking
should-
about why a consumer is motivated and thinks a certain way and how to influence them
Yes.
is let's talk a little bit about Creatively
Yes.
and what Creatively is known for. So Damian, do you want to give us your little pitch on
Yeah,
what
give us a little
Creatively is, what
elevator
you guys are
pitch.
known
Yeah.
for?
Push the elevator button,
Yeah.
heading on up.
You got 30
Creatively,
seconds.
the word is kind of creative plus profitably. You know, a lot of creative. There's a lot of great creative out there, but we really try to marry. I feel like our secret sauce is marrying creative with great data and performance metrics. We're known for making long, funny commercials.
Yeah.
That's how most people know us.
Mhm.
But we're more proud of long commercials. We're big, crazy commercials that drive big, crazy results.
What's your just to let the audience know, like, what's the video if you had to say this is what we're known for?
Well, we're probably known more for Pillow Cube.
Okay.
Because early days in our company, we were helping a lot of e-com brands grow. You know, we helped in the early days with Owlet, with Gab, with Kizik, some local brands that we helped early on. And we were helping a lot of people make money. He said, why don't we help us make a lot of money?
Yeah.
And Jay, who's really the founder of Pillow Cube, just an absolute genius,
Yeah.
had a great idea for a product. We made a simple Kickstarter video with our employees, and 5 years later, over 1 billion views. That ad is still running at the top of their funnel and still driving a majority of their revenue. So that one, you know, I'm particularly proud of. Our team gets stoked about creative results and performance results.
Yeah.
Like we had a piece we did for Cold Case last year that lived on the front page of Reddit for a week. We were stoked
Nice.
about that. People love it, and
Yeah.
I love the results. But another piece we did for the same brand is driving more revenue, and
Sure.
we're like as stoked about that. But you might not recognize that.
Yeah.
Video,
Yeah. For sure.
you know.
And just to let everyone know what Pillow Cube is. Pillow Cube is like, it's just what it sounds like. They invented a pillow that is
A cube.
a cube.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about our bodies, we've
Yep.
got a notch right there, and pillows are shaped like ovals. And if you've got a big noggin and you sleep on your head, you don't even have to have a big noggin. Know it. Every pillow is trying to be everything for everybody.
Yeah.
And we just said, let's just embrace the side sleeper. And we thought side sleepers were a minority. It turns out 70% of Americans sleep on their side.
Nice.
And so now after 1 billion views,
70%.
That kinda
70%,
I mean,
yeah.
it actually doesn't totally shock me. I don't know what I'd identify
I've
as.
never slept on my side.
I do both, I think.
Yeah.
most
I'm
people,
a
are-
stomach or back.
I try to start on my
we
back.
identify you as a switch sleeper or a combo sleeper, you know?
I like that. I
And
respect that.
But our further like clinical
Do combo
studies,
sleepers get more points?
Yes.
Hitting
Yeah.
those combos?
you have to do them in enough. You have to move back and forth fast
Yeah.
enough to
It's
get
got to
those
be within
points.
30
I do.
seconds.
Yeah,
And I do. Sometimes I wake up on
Plus
my
10.
stomach too. So, you know, I'm
but a
a
lot of
triple
people are
threat.
combo sleepers because they can't get comfortable on their side.
Ah,
Your arm falls asleep, your shoulder pain, and so that's where it made a difference. I was actually skeptical because it was a little bit weird, but we have a message. We told it to everybody, and then I started sleeping on it, and then I was a combo sleeper, and then I slept through the night. Like you put a few of those nights in a row like that, you're like, oh, there's something here. This isn't
Yeah.
just a gimmick, you know.
yeah, for sure.
You switch. Your body usually switches because there's something about that position that's getting uncomfortable.
Totally.
So if you can find a good position, if you've ever had that experience where you go to bed and wake up in the morning, those days become less and less as you get older. And if you
Well, mine are
haven't-
becoming more and more right now.
yeah. So you don't have
Shout out
kids.
to 8 Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
I got the 8
That's
Sleep. I
right.
said I was going to give
And
you guys
it-
an update.
And it legit is.
Yeah.
It's legit.
Well, now you need a pillow cube, I guess.
I do.
To,
Well,
like-
I'm not a side sleeper though.
Well,
but maybe Pillow Cube
we
now
have a
has
pillow
a-
we affectionately call the pancake that's in prototyping for back and front sleepers.
I sleep like I'm in a coffin.
That's what I
I literally do this.
Yeah.
and I fall
And
asleep.
hang from your ankles.
Yes, that too.
So that-
I'm leaving that out.
Well, I've heard that my wife is really into like health and wellness, and she has told me that I want to say it's on my right side, but maybe there's a drainage point for your lymph nodes, and so
Mhm.
it's like actually really good to sleep. It's your right or left. I can't remember which
Yeah.
side.
Our bodies
It
aren't
is.
symmetrical.
Yeah.
So if you have acid reflux, you want to sleep on the fundus of your stomach is up here.
Yeah.
You want that to be slightly elevated. So you want to sleep on your right side. Your heart is on your left side. You want to sleep on your right side, help circulation. Yeah, most people in America.
That makes sense because when my wife is pregnant, she needs a pillow cube. Because when she's pregnant, she sleeps
can't-
exclusively on her right side, but then she
you
wakes
can't
up
sleep-
with shoulder pain.
You
You're
can't sleep
supposed
on your back when
you're
you're
s-
pregnant.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying,
Right.
even like before she starts, before the belly gets big,
Got
she
it.
starts rotating to her right side,
nice.
but she'll always wake up with shoulder pains. We have a Theragun, and we're like, have to Theragun her shoulder.
We have a
every
lot of
morning.
pregnant women that love the pillow cube for that reason. And they talk about a gap in the market. Ours is a literal gap in the
Yeah.
market that we found. And it really took off. So Pillow Cube we did a Kickstarter and pre-sales, did about 300,000 before we delivered our first pillow, just off of a good ad.
Yeah.
And then the next year was 3 million, and the next year was 30 million. And so that trajectory was like, oh, we didn't realize it was kind of this fun experiment.
Yeah.
And it really took off.
I love
media
this story
growth.
because of the nicheness of it.
I do too.
Because everyone thinks by focusing on one little thing, there's no growth opportunity. Like, well, we want to be everything to everyone. But what you guys did is you actually focused on something that you thought was a really small niche, and then it ends up being, 70% of people sleep on their sides.
Well, and big enough to maybe fund you going for more than just those people too
Exactly.
eventually.
Yeah.
Right?
So the early
Kizik
days
did
of
the same
Pillow
thing.
Cube, we
Yeah.
were going to have, because a lot of people are like, well, what do you have for back sleepers? We were going to have a link on the website. Like, are you a back sleeper? And you click on it. It was just a guy with a middle finger. Just like, everybody else is taking care of you. You go elsewhere. And our second most performing commercial in our first 6 months was, this pillow is probably not for you. Here's the thing, though, I think about selling to the niches. And like, if you want to get this, tell everybody the message and tell everybody that it's not for everybody. You don't just target those niches, because you still we're finding all these niches that like our product,
Yeah.
but letting them know this isn't for everybody, but that kind of makes you want to try it.
Sure.
Well, it also makes you, well, it might be for me.
Yeah,
How
it
did
might
they
be
know?
for me.
Yeah, what?
I'm a unique and special
They
human
don't know
being.
me.
Yeah.
They can't tell
But
me
I
what
think it
know.
also is like, you're very clear on your strategy. This is what we're trying to do. You can't get great at anything unless you're like really focused on, we're trying to do this. We're really trying to solve this problem. And then you become great, and then other people use it for different things.
Sure. Sure.
So now we have positioning pillows. We make mattresses. We do custom mattresses too for side sleepers. They're fantastic. We got rid of a $5,000 mattress and went with our Pillow Cube mattress. And my wife, I say that she's one of my biggest skeptics. I think the true love for me is
healthy.
somebody,
Yeah, it's healthy if the wife
somebody
or
who
the
loves
spouse
you
is a
for who you
skeptic.
are
Yeah.
and will not put
You
up
sure
with your
about that?
crap.
Yeah.
And every time every client comes in, they have crazy products, and she's like, "What are you bringing into the house?"
Yeah.
But not in that voice. Don't
Yeah.
let her.
Yeah.
And the very few things that she'd love, and she's like, no, we can't sleep on any other
Nice.
mattresses. So yeah,
So
like that.
So tell me this. Let's switch gears a little bit. Go get a Pillow Cube though. Now that we've promoted Pillow Cube, right?
Yeah.
But what made you guys? So Mark and I have been in the e-com space for the last 8 years or so, and we've been media buying for even long, 10 to 12 years, right? There's this really interesting phenomenon that's happened probably over the last 3 or 4 years, which is back in the day. I remember. I'm going to use an example. I remember we were working on the brand side of things, and I remember we were having our spring sale. And we had projected to make X amount of revenue. We knew based off of historical data that we were going to be able to make X amount if we spent X amount. And I remember Mark coming to me and being like, we are like projected to do 50% less than what we projected to do. And we're spending more money. And it was like, well, what do we do? He's like, oh, I'll just make some audience changes and I'll do X, Y, Z, da, 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 da. And sure enough, he got it to 90% of what we should have done, right? So he'd made up a ton of ground from where we had lost, all based off of just lookalike audiences, audience testing.
It was gaming the system.
Yeah, it was gaming
Yeah.
the system. But now, as Meta,
But that's a tactic. That's not a long-term strategy.
for sure. and that stuff doesn't even really work that much
Yes,
anymore.
it's an in-game tactic that you
Yes.
still need to know, but it's not going to. Your brand will not be successful if you're relying on it.
No. So my question for you is, you guys started so long ago. How did you guys identify that creative? Because most people thought more like that strategically, like, oh, as long as I know how to do these things, I'll be able to game the system every month, day, year, whatever, to make sure that I'm hitting the right numbers at the right ROAS, et cetera, et cetera. What was it that
And
made
then
you guys?
2020 hit.
Yeah, and then iOS hits and all that stuff, right? What made you guys identify, like, no, creative is going to be the thing that's not only going to help us sell, but it's going to help build brands?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think all of us as marketers need data, but we don't talk about our guts nearly enough.
Yeah.
Like, you see something as an ad buyer or as a creative, you're like, oh, they're on to something, or you see a piece of data and people always talk about data informed, but it's how it informs and what your instinct tells you about it. We were seeing big brands take off. I would say the secret is this: ABT, always be testing, Glengarry, Glen Ross, instead of always be selling.
Yeah.
Testing has got to be a significant portion of your funnel, but it's really important what you're testing. And it's really important that you're not just learning this works and this doesn't, but you're asking yourself, why did this work and why didn't this work?
Yeah.
And that always informs creative decisions,
Sure.
I think. And so for me, I came into this not from a performance background, but a film background.
Yep.
So I had bought commercials before. And for me, there was this like epiphany when I first bought my first Facebook ads. I was promoting independent films. And I was like, I've been buying TV ads. I bought time on Facebook. And this ad cost me a penny a view. And this one cost me 7 cents a view. Why? Because this is a good ad. And this is entertaining. They're both selling the same thing, but this is entertaining. And that was kind of the start of the journey. Everybody pays the same amount for a Super Bowl ad, but you can create your own Super Bowl moments if your creative is good. And then we started asking, but can our creative also sort our demographic? So another example we often use is Owlet. Such a great company, such a great mission, but they
quickly tell everybody what Owlet is.
Owlet makes a smart sock for your babies. You put it on. You don't have to binge watch your baby at night. It tells you it's a pulse oximeter. They have a sensor on your nightstand, and as long as it's glowing green, your baby's great. If there's no signal, it changes color. If the signal, so like if there's a problem with the device, but if there's a health problem,
if the
there's
pulse
an alarm that
stops or
goes
slows,
off. Yeah. And what normally happens is you pick up a monitor and you're like, is the baby okay?
Yeah,
and
you're
like,
trying to watch the baby's chest, see if it's
like,
going up and
I don't
down.
know.
Yeah.
Is a
every
ghost
first
going to
time
attack?
parent knows the feeling of walking into your baby's room and going,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
are they
and
breathing?
You got an Owlet, right?
I would say it's a great purchase.
For baby number one, for sure.
Well, and I'm not saying not only to use it on baby number one, but it will relieve a lot of first parent stress and anxiety.
Oh, I wish we would have done it
for
for
baby
sure.
number one.
Yeah, I wish we would have for sure.
Because you're just not used to it. It's just scary. Like you have this little baby.
Well, and
this
you feel like if you're
human.
not looking, you can't tell. But then
Yeah.
what happens is my wife would just stand, like I'm up for 30 minutes every hour or two,
Totally.
staring, trying to figure, I think it's okay. I think he's okay.
Yeah.
He's really cute.
I did
I'm
the
just going to
same
watch for a
thing,
few
yeah.
more minutes. Nobody's sleeping. And then when the baby's awake and you want to be that great parent, you're not.
Yeah.
And so one of the tactics we said is like, hey, instead of targeting, they knew that women were purchasing in the third trimester. But we feel most households have a CEO and a CTO, and it's not the same person. Like we need to talk to both of them because by the third trimester, the baby money's spent. Like you bought the ridiculous crib and you bought we need to be talking to them as they're talking about getting pregnant. And so the cheapest ad unit in America is still show it to everybody in America, untargeted. The platforms aren't paying you for. And if it's a skippable ad, I'm not paying for it if they don't watch 15 seconds in.
Yep.
So we quickly came to the strategy. We do need to hook people, but we also need to sort people. We want to tell jokes that if they're not interested in this product, they're not interested in this video. And we want to kick them off before 15 seconds. Everybody's talking about hooking, but sorting is almost just as important. You want to hook everybody. We say we want the hook to be closely related to the itch and the scratch. And the itch isn't necessarily the pain that it solves, but that most present emotion that you kind of discover in an interview, that most present emotion that makes you think, oh, I need that.
Yeah.
And once you know that itch exists, you're not comfortable until you scratch it with that product.
For sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, it came through testing and
I just want to stop just a little bit and talk about this itch and scratch
Mhm.
because a good and maybe ugly example of this itch moment is if you start talking to people about bugs and
Yeah.
spiders and creepy crawly things, people will naturally start feeling a
Totally.
little
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little movement on their skin, right? Like, oh, like is
Yeah.
something on me now?
Right.
It's kind of like
So
yawning.
in marketing, how do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
create that moment emotionally for someone where it's easy to do that with bugs, right? Like these fears.
I actually have a bug example that's
So-
will prove you differently. So here's a great example. Get Ready. It's a great prescription service. We had salesmen coming to our house doing bugs, but they wouldn't get the nooks and crannies I wanted to, and they deliver a custom spray for your own neighborhood. And we did a video with them. But what we learned is we had all these digital bugs. People that hate bugs hate seeing bugs. And so we had to think about, well, how do we get them to think about bugs without seeing bugs? Because when we had some digital bugs crawling on people, we get audience drop off. And who are the people that are dropping off? People that hate bugs.
People that actually want to get rid of the bugs.
So it's
Yeah.
sometimes it's even talking about the itch instead of them. So it's asking that additional question. Oh, but what makes you feel that? Why do you want to get rid of
Right.
bugs? You know.
Well,
So
now we're
sometimes
talking
it's-
about what we call heaven and hell, right?
Yeah.
Like, which is fear or hope.
Yeah.
So like you still have to create a niche if you want to have this aspirational message, which is like what you just said. Hey, if we know that data proved that people are dropping off because we are showing too much of the itch, what we thought is the itch.
Yeah.
But this isn't selling. So now how do we flip it so we're not making them disgusted and they're leaving?
Yeah.
And showing them, hey, what's the aspirational, but how do we still create that moment where they're like, I need it. So how did
So-
you do that? Now you're going aspirational, not fear-based.
Yeah. So we don't pitch clients ever. You sign on for our process because I can't pitch you until I really get under the skin of your brand and really know. So
Right.
before we brainstorm, we do something I call a pain storm. And we talk about, well, what is the specific pain? Why do you hate bugs? What is that moment that everybody identifies with? We work with a cooling sheets company, Sheets and Giggles, fantastic sheets made out of Tencel cooling fabric, really great. So why, if you just say we make cooling sheets, you have to cerebrally connect the problem. Like, well, when are the moments that you realize that my sheets aren't cooling? It's not that you're hot. It's usually that you're sweaty. So that's a layer deeper.
Yeah.
And people identified it's that moment when you kick your leg out of the sheets.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, I'm too hot and sweaty and uncomfortable in my own sheets. So we created a monster that lives under your bed. When you kick your leg out, he grabs them. Because everybody identifies with that other feeling. We still were able to talk about it, but like, how do you go? And we find the secret is in specificity and in generality, that it's specific enough, like it's not I'm sweaty in bed. It's something that a lot of people resonate, like I've kicked my leg out of bed before.
Yeah.
But it's general enough that most people have had an experience like that and they think about it. So
Yeah.
with the bug example, I think one was you're in bed about to go to sleep and you hear that sound. Like, oh no, there's a bug in our bedroom.
Right.
It's either going to wake us up or I'm going to get mosquito bites in the morning. And
Sure.
there's something in here, and that which is very much a horror moment. And so we did a whole horror film based off of the bugs, and
Yeah.
you know, you don't know where they
Yeah.
are. They're in the house. They're
Yeah.
everywhere, and
But you don't actually see them.
you do end up seeing them, but it's not in the first 15 seconds.
It's not the itch. It's not. Yeah.
It's not the itch. You do end up seeing them.
The itch is the feeling of the unknown and the anticipation.
I think for them it is, you know, and so we're still testing that, but that's the other benefit of what we do. We do 3 to 4 minute videos. So if I shoot not a 30-second concept, we have 4 minutes of content. I have a lot of pieces I can retest for my opening,
Yeah.
which is why for us, it's really important we have a close relationship with ad buyers like you. So they're not saying, this isn't working.
Right.
We ask, well, how is it not working? Like we look at a second by second retention curve.
Mhm.
So we're seeing how viewers are watching it. We look at CPMs, CPCs. So you can see like, well, CPMs are really high, but they're not clicking. What does that tell us about the creative? Okay, it's still entertaining, but we're not driving. We need better calls to action.
Sure.
We need a sooner driver
Yeah.
So, and when I started out in this genre, I was working on films, people that didn't have budget for an ad buyer and a creative. So I was doing both. And that's when we realized like you have to have a handshake between those
Totally.
two things.
Yeah.
Where they're communicating and that it's not the tension between the two. That tension keeps the tense up.
Sure.
They're saying this isn't working because, and you're both looking at the data and trying to solve.
100%.
So
100%.
yeah, I think that's the thing that a lot of brands could take a look at. Like, but what is the itch? I know you solved this problem. but why did people want to solve that problem?
Can you give our audience an inside look at a pain storm?
A pain storm?
Yeah, because there's different kinds of brands, right? Not every brand is in a moment where they can come to a Creatively, right?
Yeah.
Like some
This is an
people,
exercise that 100% everybody can do.
right? So not everyone can say, "Hey, I have enough money now or investment to make a Creatively video."
Mhm.
You have a lot of brands that are trying to get to the point where they can, but they're still creative that they need to be making in-house or with friends or with UGC content creators. So what is a pain storm? How can they start putting themselves in this frame of mind to
Without giving too
actually
many
help?
of our I mean, it's
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
give
it's
anything.
behind
don't
the
do any
curtain of the
secrets.
Wizard of Oz. Now we have a lot of games.
Hey, you know what? Say what you want to say. We will cut this into an ad, and then you'll be able to give a little bit of the ad away.
No, I'm happy to
You
give
know?
this out to
I
everybody
think it could be a great ad for
because
you.
I think if people understood their pain better,
Yeah.
the pain and the itch, and it's like understanding the difference between the pain and the itch. Pain is the bigger problem, so it's easier to hit that point.
Yeah.
Itch is a smaller point problem, but it stays with you
Yeah.
until you scratch it.
Yep.
And the purchase. So a pain storm usually starts out like this. Let's start listing the problems that your product solves, right? Let's list all of them. Then let's go around let's spend some time and think about which one, sit with this list, and which one is bothering you right now. Which one are you thinking about when you're not thinking about it? Now let's go one step deeper. Let's look at specific, either ridiculous examples, specific examples, or pretend like you're writing a infomercial. And it's like, do you hate carrying popcorn to the couch? And the guy's like an idiot. But
Yeah.
like, how can we illustrate it? Let's think of the specific instances and dig deeper. And you'll notice in the room, if you're doing it with a bunch of people, the moment when you get that, I call it a lightning strike moment, it's like, yeah, I've totally had that. That's totally me. And so some of it involves that gut insight, but having in that room a performance marketer and a creative and a product person and the founder and or inventor of the product, seeing when those different mindsets strike on the common things. So we usually have a board of, 50 of those, but then at each step, we're also kind of refining. So we might write a list of 25 pains and then focus on 5 of them.
Sure.
And then 15 to 20 instances that are like, oh yeah, that's when I really feel this.
Totally.
And sorry, I know I'm hogging up a lot of talk time, and I want
No.
you to go after me. But
Yeah.
the reason why I wanted to dive into that just a little bit for these listeners is when you're a small company, even big companies, there's just this common pitfall where you think your problem and your solution is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, oh, like it's obvious what we do.
Yeah.
Or it's obvious what our product solves. And we have found that oftentimes it's not obvious. Like we know companies that made it a little more ambiguous of what their product was even called, the title of their product. And people were reaching out and saying, hey, can I use this product for this? It's like, yeah, that's exactly what that product is.
Totally.
But you had customers confused enough where they were messaging you,
Mm-hmm.
questioning. And so what you just did, it sounds almost like a silly activity to some people, like role playing when you're in sales. Like, okay, I'll pretend to be a customer and you pretend to
Right.
be a sales rep. That seems silly, but you have to put yourself in the mindset of the consumer so you can identify those pieces of information and content that you are thinking are obvious but aren't. The specificity is what you talked about.
Well, here, let me give you another great example from Pillow Cube. When's the problem of your pillow? If you're writing like, oh, I'm selling a pillow, let's show somebody going to bed. You feel the pain of if your pillow's not good, not at night, but in the morning.
The next day. Yeah.
Yeah, me and my wife, Theragunning her shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the Theragunning her shoulders. Like, if you have to recover from your sleep, there's something wrong with how
Yeah.
you're sleeping, right? And
Totally.
so that is that pain when they're like, yeah, if you wake up in the morning feeling worse than when you went to bed, then we should talk. And for us, pointing out that notch,
Yeah.
that stuck in a lot of people's head. They're like, yeah, that makes, I do. My neck hurts and my shoulder hurts in the morning.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, do you have neck pain? Showing people like, are you waking up feeling worse than you did?
Interesting.
Is easier to talk about.
I like what you're saying is because you're almost like, how a lot of people will say, hey, figure out what the solution is and then let's work backwards.
Mhm.
A lot of times we don't do that with creative. We don't do that with the problems we're solving because naturally everyone's first instinct, if we're just using Pillow Cube, continue that. the first instinct is like, let's show the technology immediately of the right angle gap that's experience. I mean, that's what you think is going to be the very first thing, but you're right. When you take it from, no, let's show what the end problem is at the very beginning, and then you maybe loop into the technology, why you've done it this way. You've hit that, you've identified what that itch is. They're sitting there looking at like, yeah, okay, yeah, I wake up like that. My neck does hurt. Oh my gosh. My neck, there is a gap. I never thought of it that way. And then all of a sudden they're starting to think, and now the next thing you know, they're watching. Everyone says that no one has enough time to watch a 3-minute video, but next thing you know, they're watching a 3-minute video.
The number one comment on all of our videos, and I can show them to you, is, I can't believe I just watched a 3-minute commercial.
Yeah.
I can't believe I watched the whole thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I watched this whole thing. People have short attention spans for boring stuff.
Yeah.
But we will endlessly doom scroll because we're watching stuff that we find interesting.
For sure. Can I say something about attention spans really quick?
Please.
I know we've talked about, whether you consider him a competitor or not, but I follow a guy, Jock Spitzer, who owns Raindrop.
Okay, yeah.
They
do great work,
yeah. He says something about that. This is really cool. And you pretty much said the same thing, which is, hey, people don't necessarily have short attention spans. They have short consideration spans. That's really what it is,
Yeah.
So people will look and they'll watch, and it's not that they have a short attention span. It's that if you haven't hit their itch and given them a way to identify the scratch, to scratch it, then they're not going to consider it, and they're going to eventually leave. And I think that's an interesting point.
Well,
yeah, I might frame it a little differently,
with
though.
the filter.
Yeah.
Right, which is you get someone considered by actually not just hooking people, but sorting. If you can sort people with your creative, which is what you guys do an awesome job with, is
thank you.
That makes someone consider.
Yeah.
So you can draw the consideration time out because now they're getting sorted immediately and they're sorting themselves mentally. So they have to make a consideration decision early on in the creative, rather than the creative just drawing them out and then they're like, I don't know. Like maybe this is for me, but I don't care enough to figure this out.
I like to think of them as that judge in that they're a judge in your audience is a judge in that true crime story. And the lawyer's pitching them something crazy. All I need them to say is, I'll allow it. Let's see where this is going. Right? I just need them to see this.
Proceed.
Yeah.
Proceed.
Objection.
Okay.
I'll
Watch
allow.
yourself, counselor, but let's see where this is going. It needs to be a little bit more entertaining than the argument they're having on Facebook. Max, our director of creative, I like the way he says it. It's like, we have to earn every second. And you can earn that with the itch or with entertainment or with wow but people like to be educated. Like half of the great viral things you're watching is somebody telling you about something you didn't know about. Like, don't underestimate that. But it's hard to educate in a 15 or 30-second ad. If I have 3 more minutes, I have to work on that education being entertaining. I have to work on a couple of those things, but there's 7, and we have 7 distinct things that we're doing in a commercial. Getting the itch and sorting are 2 of those things.
Yeah.
We're also selling and explaining and calling to action. Demonstrating in and of itself can be a really great hook point. I think a lot of our commercials are known for being funny. More important to me is that they're fun.
Yeah.
There's a difference between, the type of humor I like might be a little oddball and out there, but we try to be democratic so everybody's welcome to our jokes.
Sure.
But the demo is really underrated, and it's what we often will spend a lot of our time prepping for. How do we show this? I think our generation, from the upper 40s here for me and the mid 20s, I think we're immune to adjectives. Don't tell me this is a great product.
Yeah.
Show me something.
Sure.
And that sometimes is a better hook than, we make big crazy stunts and blow things up. But sometimes for Stair Slide, one of our brands, simply showing stairs.
Slide.
There's a slide on it now. And people are like, oh, I used to slide on the chairs as a kid. Like, showing that is better than any of our crazy hooks that we've come up with. Still one of our top performing ad units for that product. And a great Christmas purchase, might I add.
So you're kind of getting into this, but most brands right now, if you were to go look into their ad account, they're running 15 to 30 second videos. 80% of those ads, or 80%, 95% of their ads, maybe even 100% of their ads fit that way. Why 3-minute ads? Like what? Let's dive deep into that to help people understand, because like most people are saying, like, once again, they have short attention spans, so I can't do 3 minutes.
I think if you're running 15-second ads at the top of funnel, you're wasting a lot of money, and you're getting brand recognition. My favorite example is Liberty Mutual. We all know the brand has to do with the bird for some reason. I know nothing about what makes their insurance different.
Yeah.
But they are interrupting every single commercial.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about it.
Limu Emu.
The Limu Emu, yeah.
Yeah.
And I maybe no Liberty Bibbity, but it's just there. And they're spending somewhere between, the numbers I read, somewhere between $200 and $500 million a year on ad buy.
Makes sense.
And the industry reports say all the insurance companies are struggling right now. But they're not doing any education with it. So if I can entertain and if I can hook you, and now you're qualified, now I've earned the right to tell you something about what we do and why it's different.
Yeah.
Great products for us are people that do great at a show but can't seem to advertise. They're like, well, when you get in front of a person, what makes them listen?
Sure. Yeah.
I can do the traditional setup of a 30-second is some people say hook, line, sinker, but I think it's like a joke. It's set up, joke develops, punchline, buy our product. I can get in. We have a lot of joke density in our ads, but I can get in deep discussions. I can spend time resolving concerns. Like, this is what people don't like about it. So our clients are typically spending 60 to 80% of their ad budget at the top of the funnel, what we call true top of the funnel, untargeted, everybody in America, long form, and that has their weaknesses. If they're all in our strategy, is usually that they start having a top heavy funnel.
Yeah.
I think 15 seconds are actually great mid funnel, bottom
Sure.
of the funnel.
Yeah.
Reminders like, hey, remember that itch? It's still itching.
The social proof, the UGCs,
And we still use UGC. It's usually in the latter third. It serves the social proof function. But if your ads are all UGC, all you're doing is social proof. So you're not building your brand at all, and you're driving people to Amazon to look for your competitor. What our clients are identifying more often than not is they call it the UGC death spiral. Like, we found a UGC that works, so we invested in a whole bunch of UGC. It worked for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And now we need new UGC.
Yeah.
Our ads are running for 4 years. We have ads that are running. We tell clients, expect it to work at least a year to 18 months. We are treating the consumers with some respect and saying, like, we're not forcing you to listen to this.
Yeah.
Either watch it or don't. And if you don't, I don't have to pay.
Yeah.
But if I've entertained you, if I've given you a good show, consider buying my product.
Yeah.
And it's working. So where people can show, if you can show an attributable ROAS above 1 at the top of your funnel, you know you can grow that brand.
That's big time. Yeah.
Well, and that's all relative too, right? Like, there's companies that we've worked with where if you're showing an attributable ROAS of a 0.6 top funnel, as long as you can track the down funnel performance and then the positive lift in new customer revenue, you can make a 0.6 work top of funnel. It just depends on what your ratios are, top funnel to
and
bottom
your
funnel.
LTV versus
totally.
all those things.
Most people will turn it off, right? It's like, oh, I'm not getting a 4x return right now. It's like, well, top funnel is a different game than middle of the funnel.
Well, also,
like, you can't think about it the same way.
That's an efficiency metric, not a growth metric.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say you asked why do we do long form? We have just not found another type of asset that scales the same way.
Yeah.
Where I can have what we call double down days. Like, oh, we're seeing the traction. I've been at the point where I've seen 5+ top of the funnel, like, oh, double our ad spend. Next day, double our ad spend. And doing that for a week consistently and seeing that metric not go down. I haven't seen any other type of asset do that for us.
Sure.
Like, you might get a celebrity post about you and you get a bump for the day, but that just never lasts very long.
Yeah, it dissipates fast.
Yeah, that's true.
As a matter of fact, that was with our ice cream, we had a not to be named Kardashian post about the ice cream and love it. And her sisters posted about it as well. And we saw a bump, not as significant as running our ad consistently for a month.
Sure.
And we have control. That's not like a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best to articulate this thought, but education, right? If you take a step back, the best educators out there are selling, right? They're selling you on the idea that this information is worthwhile, and that makes you want to listen, right? If you have a professor you remember in college and they made you excited about something, it's because you saw the potential of what that information could do for you. and how you could use it to better your life or those around you. And so some people I think look at education as, well, like people don't want to just like listen to a teacher like talk on an ad.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's kind of true, but what do you think the Food Network is?
Yeah.
Like the Food Network or the Home Network, like all
Yeah.
they're doing is
And half of
educating
reels
you.
and TikToks are people like, oh, here's something you probably didn't know.
Exactly.
Totally.
Like what's that one guy, the stallion guy?
And I don't know.
Jordan.
Is he trimming
Jordan
cow
is,
hooves?
I feel like
or-
this
He's the
sounds-
guy that's like,
What does he do?
he's
Is
the
he the
guy
dirt
that
man guy?
basically like goes over recipes.
Oh, I don't know.
He's like, I found out the secret.
Well,
to-"
yeah, and Mom Talk does this a lot.
And he like, he'll,
I just
yeah.
found the best hack ever.
Yeah.
It's called stair slide, or whatever. I mean, like they do those things. There was
Like,
this,
that is education, but people pay attention to it because it serves them.
you know,
Even if they're not going to use it, it's like, oh, this is interesting. I want to know about it.
Honestly, I think you're right. Like as you're articulating that, I'm thinking I have a high school teacher, and he probably informed the way I advertise more than anything else. He taught art. His name was Mr. Bill. Silly guy. Did a lot of great paintings around here in Draper. But
Shout out,
he's-
Mr. Bill.
Shout out Mr. Bill Larson. Love you, man. He's like, oh, we're not going to learn anything today. We're going to find out some stuff. We're going to go explore and we're going to find out some stuff. Who doesn't want to go on an adventure?
yeah, for
Who
sure.
doesn't want to find out some stuff that you
Magic
didn't know
school
before?
bus, right?
Yeah, Magic School Bus, or
Magic
you know,
school bus education right there.
That's
there's
right.
another book that Corbin Church
Take
was just
action.
talking about. I think it's called Selling is Living. It's like everybody sells. Whether the doctor, he's selling you the medication that you need, but he needs to convince you why you need that.
Yeah.
He's not making money off that medication.
And why you should follow the instructions.
Yeah, why you should.
Yeah.
And he's got to convince
Take the
you.
antibiotics till the end of the pill, everyone.
Yeah.
Or the bottle.
And-
Don't cut short.
Yeah, and I think so. Marketing is ultimately is helping you get what you want. This is what you want, and if I'm pushing you something you don't want and I'm tricking you to buy it, I'm not going to have a long-term life.
Yeah.
But that itch is like, hey, and that's we kind of select products. We don't say yes to everybody. That like, oh yeah, I like this. I use it.
Sure.
Like I said, I'm wearing 7 of our clients right now.
Yeah.
Like everywhere from my True Classic shirt to my Manly Bands ring. Like they gave me something I want. Can we help educate people on why the way you've been trying to get what you want isn't getting you what you want?
Yeah.
Because you've
For
been
sure.
trying. It's unsatisfying in some way.
Well, I know we got to end here, but I want to ask just one last question that I think you can give a pretty quick answer. What is the biggest mistake as somebody who is owns your own brands, but are also working with big and large brands? Biggest creative mistake that brands are making today that you're noticing?
The biggest mistake they're making is they've accepted something to be true that's not necessarily true. We think our only customers are this. We haven't figured out, how do I talk to everybody in America about our product that will at least make them consider it?
Yeah.
More than personas is one of my pet peeve. They're useful, but if you've built your marketing around only talking to them, you've missed so many people that want your product.
Yeah.
So many people that want to, I think, look at Prime, not one of our clients, but they blew up because all the other performance drinks were taking their marketing for granted. They're like,
Yeah.
as long as we sponsor athletes, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's elementary kids.
Yeah.
That you can get them to carry this bottle as a status symbol.
Yeah.
And taking that audience, like, well, let's push. So one of the games we play called Good Persona, Bad Persona, and the client writes all the things they know about their persona, and we try to beat them with personas they hadn't thought about. Like, we're going to come up with ridiculous personas that you haven't even figured about. And sometimes those become great examples that make it into their commercials because it makes you think about their product in a
Sure.
different way.
The same thing in-house applies to what you're trying to do in the marketing, right? You're trying to inspire the consumer to watch and buy,
Mhm.
right? Inspire them to figure out that you have what they want. But and to do that, you have to have this inquisitive mindset. Like, who doesn't want to find something out? Who doesn't want to go on an adventure? But in-house, like you said, I think the lazy thing isn't that people are lazy, that they're not working hard. It's that you don't have that inquisitive adventure mindset anymore.
It's a lack of curiosity.
I just want to
Yeah.
be curious and
Hence-
learn.
Hence the reason why when you bring somebody new in, they always bring that in. Like, well, have you guys thought about this? Have you guys thought about that? And you're like, I'm annoyed by you.
I did,
But no, I
did,
haven't.
and then I got busy.
So thank you. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I've been in meetings all day, or I've
Yeah.
been, yeah.
We started talking about a birthday, this,
Yes.
but my best friend always says The moment you stop becoming curious is when you start becoming a grumpy old man.
Yeah.
As long as you're curious, because you're grumpy because it doesn't fit the worldview you've built. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, why did that happen? Huh? Why is this? So I think it's, as marketers, we have to still be like aggressively curious, a little bit dumb so that we don't think we know all the answers, and willing to constantly be learning. If your performance and creative department hate each other, you've got a big problem. That's like such a common thing. They really need to be feeding each other. Like
Totally.
my writers like love to run down to the performance department. Like, how's this ad performing?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they don't celebrate when we get the awards.
Yeah.
They celebrate like, dude, that just hit a 6 ROAS.
Yeah.
It's killing it. It's
Yeah, we've been in that situation on the brand side before where marketing, performance, and creative just were always butting heads. So I totally get it.
And is that the solution? Is just curiosity? How do you, if you instill curiosity into your company, does that solve most of these problems? Because if you're curious enough, if each department is curious enough to figure things out, then you don't run into these siloed mindsets.
It probably makes people a little more humble too, right? Because they're less worried about, they're less, it must be my idea versus I hope what I did was right. But if not, I'm still curious as to why.
So we kind of use curiosity internally, curiosity and humility almost interchangeably.
Yeah.
Because we're on a quest to make the greatest commercials on the internet. Like we're clear about that. We have confidence that we're doing great things, but I always want to be asking questions like, don't take that for granted.
Sure.
The internet is changing so much that there's new big changes to audience targeting just yesterday on Facebook. And the big crazy thing that works today is not going to work tomorrow. And you can either wait for everybody to be successful doing it and then try to do it like them, which is what I think most brands are doing. They're just saying, well, what's working for other people? And instead saying like, what's the next iteration of that? What does tomorrow look like for that?
Yeah, for sure. Damian, dude, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I know you have a place to be and we went a little bit over. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find Creatibly?
Yeah, you can find us all over Facebook and LinkedIn, but creatively.com if you want to talk about doing something big and ridiculous, set up an appointment. Let's talk about getting big and ridiculous.
Awesome. And where can people find you? I know you have a little bit of a voice on
I post more on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You're going to see more of my family pictures on Instagram and my ridiculous personal art projects there. Damian Dayton on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
DamianDayton.
Nice.
And Damian doesn't know this, but we have helped clients
With
that
Creatibly,
have a Creatively ad in their ad account that was old.
And they stopped using it.
And they stopped using it. We
resurfaced them.
repurposed it, and it still worked.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know this, but he knows this. We're using Bestie to help our writers out right now. Like we're trying to get them on Bestie before our writing process. So we're like, hey,
Super smart.
Here's some things we're discovering, and here's new ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
And reminding them.
Helps back probably a lot of the data that you guys, or gut data that you might bring to them.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for your help there, guys.
Amazing. Well, thank you so
Damian.
much. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.